Today there's been a leak, and that leak didn't come from player base leaking information from the server, didn't come from the content creators making mistakes, it came directly from Playerium. Today we've had the patch notes for the next coming release that's coming on Thursday together with the Fusion, and in this case someone that was working there that was hungover or that wasn't very happy, together with the patch notes they leaked themselves an image of the skills of the new free login champion. Let's have a look at it. Hi, Senda here and welcome to another raid video. In this case we're gonna be going over one of the latest raid secrets, and basically it's been a secret because they told us they were gonna release this champion, but all the skills they were kept secret, and we were told that they were gonna share these skills closer to the date. This champion is gonna be a free legendary champion login, exactly the same as it was Alice a couple of months ago. You only need to log in every day in order to get the champion, and then you need to complete certain things inside the game in order to get the second, third, fourth and fifth ascension, so that the red start on the champion, just again for free. This champion chase, like I said, it was going to start sometime around July. I'm not sure if it was the 3rd of July or the 6th of July, but we were supposed to know this information a bit later in the future. They leaked it and Playerium was like, you know what, here's the information, be free to make a video, and that's why we're here. We know that in this campaign we have a couple of champions. We have in this case this one called Leminisi the Gold Wing, but also we have, like we've seen, Korosa the Covetous, we have Dracos Drake, we have Valar the Lost, and we have the Fusion, which is Tolin, which again they've been keeping very secret. We've been playing with him in the test server. You'll have the video of him from the test server in a couple of days. Again, normally they let us show the videos a couple of days before the Fusion so people can make up their minds if they want to go for the Fusion or not. In this case, again, super secret. They haven't even shown us how the champion looks like, and they told us don't release anything until the beginning of the Fusion. So on Thursday you'll have the video of Tolin. But the one we have here at hand today is Leminisi the Gold Wing. We've already seen this champion. Don't fall for the clickbait thumbnails of free top, like, oh, I'm sure we're gonna see insane champion, meta changer. Don't fall for these clickbaits. This champion is very average. Actually, in a tier list of how good they are compared to other free login legendary champions, on the top of that list we'll probably have Sun Wukong and UDK are in the top 2, are really good champions. Then if we go one step down, we'll have maybe Rathalos, then maybe Alice, and then we'll have this one here. She's not as bad as Udex Arthur, which was the previous champion. She's not as bad, but unless she has crazy multipliers, she is very average. We have that is a legendary Force Affinity attack champion, so it's a damage dealer, it's a DPS, it's a nuker. On her A1, attacks an enemy 2 times. If the target is under shield buff, each hit has a 25% chance of decreasing the value of the shield by 10%. This is a bit strange, and you'll see why in a second. We'll also ignore 50% of the target's resistance if the target is from the Corrupted Alliance, which I don't really understand why do we need resistance for this. And if the target is not under any shield, each hit will ignore 10% of the target's defense, which seems to be probably the best out of the 3 things. The first one decreases the value of the shield by 10%. I don't really get it, because let's say we have a shield that is 50,000 HP, the value of the shield, and we hit the champion for 30,000, we are already decreasing the value of the shield. Okay, if we're hitting for 30,000, the shield only has a 20% left. Sorry, not 20%, 20,000 HP left of shield. So by damaging it, we're already decreasing. So I don't really understand. Is it like an extra damage on top of the shield? So it just literally, this attack hits for more damage if the enemy has a shield, but this damage is only applied to the shield? I don't really understand it. Again, resistance for what? For damaging a shield? which is essentially the same as dealing more damage. And like I said, maybe the way this skill works, or it should work, is just use it against champions that don't have shield. You'll get an extra 10% ignore defense, which is not bad on an A1, and that's it. Forget about the shields, just hit anything that's not under a shield, and if it's under a shield, you're just gonna hit it for slightly harder. So for starters, in A1, that is not too impressive. On the A2, attacks an enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 100% chance of removing 2 random buffs from the target. Okay, 100% chance is not bad. We're gonna need accuracy anyways to do that, but we're gonna need accuracy on her kit anyways. And then we'll ignore 50% of the target's resistance if the target is from the Corrupted Alliance. Not bad. That means that against targets from the Corrupted Alliance, we need half the accuracy. So 200 accuracy on this champion would equal 400 accuracy if we're hitting against champions from the Corrupted Alliance, because the enemy's resistance is half, which means we have double. This skill deals more damage, equal to the value of the target's current turn meter, and stacks up to 100%. This is pretty cool. There's a relic, I don't remember the name of this relic, but there is a relic that does something very similar, that we deal more damage depending on the enemy's turn meter. If the enemy has a 50% turn meter, we deal 50% more damage. If the enemy's turn meter is 100% full, we deal 100% more damage. So this skill seems to be quite interesting, because we're not only going to be removing 2 random buffs, but we might also be able to hit quite hard depending on the enemy's turn meter, depending on the multipliers, and depending on the stats of this champion, because we haven't seen it yet. So this might be useful in terms of just raw damage. On the A3, attacks all enemies 2 times. The first hit has 75% chance of placing heal reduction for 2 turns, which is not bad, but it's not the most useful debuffs either. And then the second hit, 50% chance of placing block buffs for 2 turns. Again, it has certain uses in Hydra, in waves, on Arena is not the most used one. Again, heal reduction is not the most powerful debuff. Maybe you can use this against Aemius in the Cursed City. The boss, there's a way of dealing with him, or at least him healing if we place a heals reduction. But other than that, not the most powerful 2 debuffs. And then we'll also ignore 50% of the target resistance if the target is from the Corrupted Alliance, exactly the same as before. And as a passive, receives 15% less damage from enemies under heal reduction debuffs. Again, yeah, we're able to apply it, but it's not the most useful debuff. And fill this champion's turn meter by 5% whenever an enemy receives a shield or a heal. Which means if their enemies just place some shields on themselves, I understand that 5% times 4 enemy champions, it increases at 20% the turn meter of this champion. It's not bad, but the enemies are not constantly placing buffs, are not constantly healing, but hey, it's a passive, it doesn't hurt having it, and it's some extra turn meter increase. Finally, an aura increases ally attack in all battles by 25%. So it's essentially a damage dealer. It's going to be one of these damage dealers that need to be geared with accuracy. It's one of these damage dealers that we don't know yet up to what extent her damage is really good, because I guess the main hard hitting skill is the A2, just because of this extra damage, on top of maybe some decreased defense and weaken can be an actual pretty good hit, on top of ignoring even more defense with sets like, I don't know, like Lethal or Savage. One of these sets can be also all stacking damage on top of damage, so it can be a good AoE. However, I think Alice is better, because Alice, on top of what she was doing, which is like also quite a lot of damage, she had powerful multipliers. She was able to block the skills of the enemies. She was able to put their skills on cooldown, very similar to Warlord, on top of quite a lot of damage. So she was very useful quite around, maybe not in a late game account, but on an early and mid game account, she was pretty powerful. I think she's a bit on the same line, maybe with less uses, but also she's able to bring something else different to the table, like heal reductions and block buffs. So it's not terrible. I mean, for being a free champion, she's okay. She's a 5 out of 10. Alice was maybe a 6 if I had to rate it. So she's not bad. She passes, like I said, it's a 5 out of 10. She approves, but just about. And we'll need to see how hard this A2 hits, how hard the A1 hits, and where else can we use her, because right now I don't see much use for her, especially on a late game account. That's all the information we have about her. I hope you, I don't know, hope you let me know in the comments what you think about her, if you think she's going to be useful, if she's complete trash. Let me know down there in the comments. That's all from me today. Here, like always, recommended video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.